Hello again, everyone, and welcome to 90s to Now. I, of course, am Jerry Strauss. And folks, this is going to be an exciting show for so many reasons. The first of which is that it's our first time with two guests at once. So we're growing and we're expanding, we're evolving, and we're doing it with two of the very best that we could possibly do it with. We have got somebody that you know so very well from classic shows like Freaks and Geeks, Dawson's Creek, Cougar Town, Peacock's Girls Five Eva. Our other guest, she has worked alongside everyone from David Letterman to Rosie O'Donnell, Andy Cohen, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Together, they are the hosts of Busy Phillips is Doing Her Best. They are Busy Phillips and Caissie St. Onge. Ladies, how are you?
We're good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm a little out of breath. That was a lot. So
two guests, twice as much intro.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. It all worked out. And it's so good to talk to you guys. I want to say right off the bat that we're very excited. We're recording this from right here in New Jersey, and we are looking ahead to Saturday, February 11th at the Onge, which is, one of the great venues to see any sort of entertainment here in the Garden State. 8 p.m. start time. Busy Phillips is Doing Her Best, the live podcast. You guys are bringing the show to Jersey. So what's the excitement level on your end as far as getting in front of people with this thing?
Well, we were invited to the Toronto Comedy Festival a couple months ago to do our podcast live. And we sort of went with I'm just going to be honest, sort of low expectations. We were like, it'll be a fun thing to do. We'll get to go to Toronto and hang out in a different city. And honestly, it far exceeded our expectations. The fans had the best time. We had the best time. And people the people that like us have asked if maybe we would do some tours. So we're starting off a little small. We're just doing a couple shows to see how it goes and if we like it, but we're really excited.
Yeah. Is there any sort of intimidation or nerves at this point, because you're so used to, being able to record in sort of this intimate, comfy sort of environment, and this is the polar opposite. You're getting on a stage and there's no hit stop, let's re-record that. Like, you're doing it live, you got witnesses, and
well, I mean, you can talk to Caissie about this, but the truth is, because she handles the editing, we do our podcast ourselves. We self-produce it. And Caissie, we have an amazing editor that we work with, Josh, shout out Josh, who, Caissie works with to get the show out in a timely fashion. But we don't really edit too much out, do we, Case?
I mean, not unless somebody is like, oh, I said the wrong fact about something and I don't want to mislead people, or, just sometimes if we're trying to keep it under, say, 5 hours, we might take a chunk out just to help speed it along.
But just don't worry, the show's not going to be 5 hours, live show. Well, I promise.
Look,
nobody can get a babysitter for that long.
No.
That is very true. But, I think people are really excited to come kind of be a part of that experience. And I think that people are excited about a show like yours, and they have been. And obviously you guys are doing so well with it. And it's just so interesting that I think so many people, especially over the last few years, have gravitated towards the type of show where it's not an expert giving you information, right? Like, you guys have really honed in on this idea of, we are talking about how you might try to figure this life thing out while we are figuring this life thing out right alongside you.
Right.
Was that the intent from the get-go? Let's just put ourselves out there and be vulnerable and let people attach themselves to that?
Well, I mean, sort of that's an extension of what I think I started doing on Instagram many, many, many years ago. And I knew that my fans and people who found me via Instagram really responded to that. And, these last several years, I don't need to tell anyone, have been tough for everyone in a myriad of ways. And just navigating, how do we meet some of these moments? I mean, and when we do have experts that come on to help us understand. Shannon Watts came onto our show many months ago. I mean, was it after the Uvalde shooting?
Yes. Yeah.
Shannon Watts from Moms Demand Action, from who's done such incredible work, came on and talked to us about what we can all do and how we can show up. And I think that one thing that we found is that our listeners and the people that love us relate deeply to that, to what everyone is going through sort of collectively. We're trying to navigate parenting and working and marriages and partnerships and business, and then also just the state of the world, like climate change and mass shootings and our rights being taken away from us, just all of these things, and it feels really overwhelming. And so I think it's cathartic for people to feel less alone.
Yeah.
It's kind of an extension of what we tried to do with our late night talk show, Busy Tonight, as well. And it's also, I think, why Busy and I love working together is because despite having long careers in entertainment, it's really been few and far between for both of us, I think, where we felt like I'm working on something that is for me. Like I've often worked on something that I'm like, I am very entertained by this. I enjoy it, but I don't feel like it's specifically for me. And my philosophy is sort of like, if I'm feeling that way, probably millions of other people are feeling that way. So it's just nice for us to be able to make something that's like, we see you, the underserved, person consuming entertainment or whatever, and you're like us. And so we're making something for people like us who don't always get directly spoken to.
Yeah, that's so cool. And, the fact that you are benefiting from it right alongside, it's almost like you guys are having this journey and you just happen to be the ones with the microphones. So you're able to put it out there for everybody else. And I think people really just like being a part of that because there's a genuine, everyone's got this genuine common goal of just trying to, live their best life every day and figure out like how to go forward in the best way possible. And everyone feels like you're all doing it together now. You guys are just kind of leading the charge.
I love that when our listeners are like, you guys are my coworkers, you're my roommates, you're my family. Like, it's just really about spending time with each other because that's something that we don't get to do so much anymore.
Yeah. Well, speaking of coworkers, let me ask you, let's go inside the process a little bit because, you guys obviously have worked together for so long, you work so well together, but when the record button is not yet pressed, like what is the process of recording an episode or prepping for an episode? How does this go for you guys? You do it in the morning, at night? Like what's the schedule?
Well, we're on two different coasts now. So I'm on the East Coast and Caissie's on the West Coast. So it's like afternoon-ish for me and morning for her, generally speaking. Although occasionally we have to move the schedule around just because of life and my shooting schedule, or Caissie has a job or is traveling, something like that. And we self-produce and do the show ourselves. And we basically hit record as soon as we jump on, I would say.
We just hit record because every time we have tried to just have a conversation about what we want to do, then we usually regret not having recorded it because that's when we're having the most fun.
Yeah.
Right.
So we just hit record and, I think we know each other so well that we kind of have a gut feeling about what we're going to want to discuss. And, but we try to just keep it loose, like a conversation, like it's our goal to.
And it varies from week to week too. Like some weeks there are things happening in the news or in pop culture that like one of us or both of us can't wait to talk about. And some weeks it's just like one or both of us is going through something and we need to like vent and talk about how to navigate personal situations, and we don't even talk about like the big pop culture story that hit that week or whatever.
Right.
So it really does and we don't discuss that beforehand. We just kind of like go with the
Save it.
flow with each
Yeah.
other. Yeah.
And there have been times when I'm like a little bit self-conscious, like, oh gosh, I just talked about myself and my life this week, and like, is that, I don't know, I feel weird about it because I'm
indulgent, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not a real in front of the camera. You know, I'm not usually the talent. I'm usually behind the scenes. But then every time, without fail, that's when I get the most feedback. Like, that's exactly the same thing that I'm going through. And I'm so glad you talked about it. And that really spoke to me. And so, again, everything that I'm ever feeling, so many other people are also feeling that, and so it's just helpful to talk it out, to have a forum to talk it out.
Yeah. And you bring up such a good point, because this is what you guys do, right? On this show, you reveal this really deep stuff about your own personal selves and personal lives. I'm curious for both of you. I mean, Caissie, not used to being in the public eye and busy for so many years. I mean, for a long time, whether it was in writing or Instagram, social media, you've been pretty comfortable putting yourself out there. But you're also primarily known from earlier in your career for, being characters, for your roles. And
Mhm.
now I think it's flipped to the point where, it's you. You are the biggest, most well-known role you're playing is Busy Phillips, yourself.
Mhm.
Was there a time in your life where that flipped, where it wasn't necessarily as comfortable to do that, and then you decided that's just the way you were gonna proceed and just put yourself out there and let the world see the real you?
Well, I have always put myself out there and let the world see the real me, but the difference has been how the real world has had access. So that has really always been the way that I've led my life, and who I've been in person and with friends, and I mean, acquaintances and people in grocery stores, whatever. Um, and then, social media sort of caught up to me in that way. And I found myself with like a much bigger audience. Because, when I was before social media, actors were at the mercy of just journalists and reporters, and, you know, 45-word blurbs in People magazine about who this person is and what they like. And there's no way you can be nuanced or interesting when you're being profiled in 75 words or less. But, you can actually get across a lot of thoughts and feelings and very deep, real truths about yourself. On Twitter or Facebook or Snap or TikTok or Instagram and Instagram stories, which is what it really like the medium that I responded to the most. So, I think it's also interesting and like worth noting that there are things that like I don't share, and there are things that Caissie doesn't talk about, and there are people we that are like off limits in our lives that we don't talk about, and that's like our own private choices, like we just, but it is funny, like I often in interviews and whatnot, people will say like, you share everything, is there anything that you won't share? And I'm like, yeah, there's lots of stuff I don't share. Like there's much that I don't share, but I do share a lot, and the stuff that I share is very real, but yeah, I have boundaries.
Recent boundaries.
They're not that recent.
I think we're both learning boundaries better, because that's like a part of growing up, which we're both, it seems weird to say that about people at our age, but like we really are all still just growing. That's the point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
I think so. I think that's what this show and your show and all these shows are all about, trying to continue to just figure all this stuff out. That's growing, right?
Yeah.
So Busy. This is 90s to now. So of course,
Yeah.
when I announced that this interview was happening, we're going to get a lot of feedback. We're going to get a lot of comments. We're going to get a lot of requests. Ask about this, ask about that, ask about, some of your classic roles from early in your career. And I feel like there's no stone that's not been turned over for any of that. But what I want to ask you, and I want both of you to possibly chime in on this, because
Mhm.
this is purely a creative exercise. We're going to take the two roles that I was asked about most to ask you, and I would like to know from you, if these shows were to come back in revival form in 2023,
Mhm.
where those characters would be. So, of course, the first one is going to be Freaks and Geeks, Kim Kelly. So, if we're doing the math right now, it's about 23 years later. The show took place in 1980, so this would put Kim Kelly around 40, 41 years old. Does that sound right? And it would be in the early 2000s is where we would be if we were going in real time. This is a
But
lot of math.
wait.
I'm sorry.
But wait, I don't think she would be. I think she'd be older than 41, right?
Well,
No, she wouldn't be.
Well, we'd be in 2000 because it would
No, I
still be a
know. No,
period
I know.
piece. Yeah.
No, I know it would be in the early 2000s. But wait, she would be younger than 41, right? Because
Well,
I was 19 when I did it, and
Okay.
she was, and I'm 43, and she was. Caissie, are you doing the math right now?
I'm trying to do the math. So that
She
we
was
can-
16.
she was 16, and it's been 23 years, right? I believe.
Oh, has it? Has it been 23 years? Is that right?
I think the show was on.
It was 98. What?
Oh, was it?
It took place in 1980.
It took place in 1980, yeah, but it was 1998, 99, right? Was the season of the show.
I think it debuted in
It's
99.
99.
Yeah.
Oh, 99 to 2000.
So you're saying, what would Kim Kelly be doing if she was alive right now? If she was alive?
If we were to go back and find out what all those characters were doing now.
I always just have said that, like, I don't know, she'd be like a mom that works in a bank. Like or like she would just have a job.
She'd be okay.
She'd be like 54 years old, by the way. I think the math is
right now.
23, Kim Kelly would be 54.
54, but in the early 2000s, she's in her early 40s. I'm sure she would just be like a mom with some kids and married to a guy and like living like just a person that she married and had kids with.
Okay. None of the characters that we met. You think she went in a different direction?
No, I mean, you went to high school, right?
I did. Okay,
I'm just checking. Like, I think that like people are who they are in high school, and I'm not saying she wouldn't be in touch with some of them. She probably still lives in their town in Michigan. She probably didn't move. She probably lives in Michigan. And I'm not saying she doesn't know those guys, or see them around or anything. But like, I think people just have a lot of, actually the woman that I sort of based the character of Kim Kelly on was a girl from my high school. And I have seen her on Facebook or, like over the years, whatever. And she was terrifying to me when we were kids, but she's just like a normal lady mom, she grew up like people grow up, and
interesting. The person that I went to high school with that was the most Kim Kelly like, she is like a high powered executive now. And also kind of like, she's I don't know what's the right way to say it, but she's into like yoga. She's probably done some shrooms, and so she's like very philosophical and chill, but she's also like a high powered executive. But she was like my school's Kim Kelly.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kim probably would like have found her thing, and like I think she was a smart character. She's a smart person. She was a smart girl. Yeah. Who also just had like bad family circumstances and like a lot of like clear abuse in her life, all around her. So I would imagine, because then let's like follow the thread, like the 80s and 90s and therapy and Oprah, and she like figures it out and like gets her, maybe starts at a community college at Lindsay's suggestion, and then ends up transferring to the state school, and she's got a job and is married to a guy and has some kids.
I love that. I love that because, the TV exec instinct feels like, okay, if we were to bring these characters back, they all have to still be like tightly interwoven in each other's lives. Like that's what they, I guess the instinct is maybe that TV viewers would want to see. But realistically, I mean, you're right. Anybody who is dating in high school who ends up together forever, those are people that are very scary. Like I don't necessarily know.
Or it's like people from like my parents, like from the 1950s.
Yeah.
like my parents dated in high school and are still together 55 years later or whatever it is now. And it's like, but it was a different time. It was like a very different life, that you would choose. People travel more. I don't know. I don't think that they would necessarily all be intertwined, especially the girls. Like the boys, maybe. Like I could see Kim and Lindsay still being good friends, but I don't think they talk to those guys. No. I don't talk to the dirtbag guys I knew in high school. I talk to my girlfriends, who I did drugs with, but I don't talk to the dirtbag guys. I don't even know where they are,
Well, hey, we're keeping it real, and that makes total sense. So okay, let's see how the answer differs for this one, because the other show, and it's the 25th year anniversary this year, so everyone's talking about Dawson all over again, Dawson's Creek. We don't have to do the math on this.
We don't.
No, please. But that show on everyone's minds these days. So where's Audrey, do you think, in 2023?
Oh, I think Audrey lives in Brentwood in Los Angeles. I think she went back there and goes to Soul Cycle a lot, and is like a Brentwood. Like maybe, I don't know, she probably like went into television acting like her mom. Wasn't her mom a TV actor? It was played by Brenda Strong. Is that her name? Brenda from the Desperate Housewives. She was like the voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Brenda Strong. Yep.
That's right.
You got it.
I feel like that. I haven't watched the show literally ever. Like I never saw the episodes that were on even. Mm-hmm. But so this is all just from my memory of doing it. But I feel like her mom was like on a TV show, but maybe I made that up. But I know they were from LA. So I feel like she lives in Brentwood and she Soul Cycles a lot. Maybe she's like a TV actor. She always was going to be in entertainment. That's for sure. Remember she wanted to sing and she was like in that band. I don't think music was the passion.
She'd be such a good Real Housewife.
Oh, maybe she's a Real Housewife. Yeah, that's great.
Let's get her a meeting.
Honey, Beverly Hills is hiring. They've got some openings. Audrey Liddell is there.
Oh yeah. They're aching for talent over there.
There you go. That's it. So Audrey Liddell is a Real Housewife.
I don't know.
She has like a short-lived UPN sitcom.
Sure. Yeah, and she's gonna release an album coming.
She had a country album.
Oh yeah.
Right, she did she went to Nashville and she did a country album.
Sure,
not great. It didn't. No. She didn't nail it. And she's done some entertainment reporting, and now she's going to be a Real Housewife. She's married to an ex-baseball player. Let's just keep going.
Just to add to the mix, we did find out in the finale of that show that Dawson ended up being a successful director out on the West Coast.
Yeah, so he did. That's right. And they said they only referenced Audrey, but they said she was a backup singer on tour with John Mayer, which I think was short-lived. And then she got her agent and started television acting. Mm-hmm. And that's when the sitcom came to be.
Did John Mayer ever write a song about her?
Probably.
I feel like yes.
I feel like yes too.
I love it. I want to get back to the show real quick because you guys have such a body of work already. What's been your favorite episode so far to record, and what's been the episode that's gotten the most feedback for you for the podcast?
It's always surprising what gets feedback. We had our friend Julia Duffy from, most famously probably from Newhart. And people responded just to her because she was so lovely and real, and told us such a touching story about her real life. And our friend Heather Matarazzo from Welcome to the Dollhouse, and she's been in everything. I always think of her as from Roseanne because that's when I first met her when she was a little kid. She was a guest on the Rosie O'Donnell show. And I don't know why she just like talked to me because I also was practically a little kid at that time when I worked there. And but she's in the Scream movies, Princess Diaries, got really great response from that because she was also like just so frank and open with us. I don't know. I always have fond memories of when my first boss, David Letterman, was on the show because we got our time zones mixed up and he was on the Zoom waiting for us, like, I want to say like 5 hours before we were ready. And so there was a lot of frantic calling around, and it was very fun for me because he's such a host that he kept trying to like wrestle control of the hosting away from us. And we were like, we will not let you host us. We are the hosts. We're asking the questions here. So that was like super fun for me. But I don't know, what's been your favorite, Biz? We've had so many amazing.
I really loved Rosie O'Donnell. Caissie worked for Rosie on the Rosie O'Donnell show and was a writer there. And I had never met her, but have always been a fan of hers. And I thought she was just really open and forthcoming and cool. And she's a person who, also like she really like went through a lot and was subjected to a lot of pretty horrible behavior and discussion about her and her life and her body and everything. So she was very open and cool, and I just love her. So that was one of my favorites. And then I don't know. I like them all kind of. Like it feels
so much
weird
fun
picking one.
with Tina Fey and her husband.
Yeah, that was really sweet too because Jeff Richmond, who's Tina Fey's husband, is so incredibly talented. He does all of the music, well, most of the music for Girls Five Eva. Sarah Bareilles collaborates on some of it as well. But he was the musical director for SNL for so many years, and he's just a really interesting, cool, creative person. So to get him with Tina, and I don't feel like they do a lot of interviews and stuff together ever. So like to have the two of them together and to really see this dynamic, I mean, that's like a very long standing relationship and marriage in this business that they have just like, you get it so completely when you have them together, like when you see them talking together, and it's really sweet. I love that. And we got a lot of emails from people being like, loved hearing from Jeff Richmond. He's so cool. Like he's so interesting. Never have even heard from him before. Never even knew what his voice sounded like, and like, I think that's because he's a little bit, he's obviously like a little bit more behind the scenes than Tina, but they work together so incredibly, and they have since Second City days. So that was just really interesting, like hearing their journey and how they have made it all work.
We laughed so hard with Amber Ruffin. She's amazing. Lisa Ling we had one time, and she was just incredible. She's and really talk about the 90s. She talked about the beginning of her career, and it was so interesting because we loved her like teen reporter when we were
Lisa Ling. Yeah. Oh my God, she's the best. She's really the best.
Well, look, I mean, we could go on, and I know that you guys have been so generous with your time. So thank you for being on 90s to Now here. I want to ask you one final question before we get out of here. And of course, we want to remind people that Busy and Caissie are coming to NJ in Newark, New Jersey. This is happening Saturday night, 8 p.m. February 11th is the date. So circle it, make your plans, get your tickets, and you can see them do their thing up close and personal. I want to ask you a two-part question for both of you before we get out of here. As we head into, of course, we're still at the beginning of a whole new year, and of course, hopefully many years of this show still to come of your podcast. what would be a topic that you guys really want to hit on that you haven't done so yet? And who would be a dream guest that you would really like to make happen in the next year or beyond?
Well, we've been trying to schedule my best friend Michelle Williams literally forever. So if we can't get her between now and the Oscars to talk about The Fabelmans and her new Kelly Reichardt movie, I think I have some issues. I think I have some problems.
Best
So
friend?
I'm gonna
I don't think so.
I'm gonna work on that. No, I was just texting with her right now. It was like, dude, come on, what's happening? She's like, I know, this week. Okay, anyway, so we'll see. So Michelle for sure, because she was on Busy Tonight, but she's not been on the podcast yet.
Mhm.
And it's wild, like that idea of a topic that we'd really like to cover. It's hard to say because so much of what we talk about is in response to our own experiences that week,
Yeah.
So I don't
Anything in
know.
your back pocket that maybe, oh, we were going to do it, but then something else came up. Is there anything you guys have been just kind of waiting for the right time for that right opening or opportunity to hit
Yeah,
on?
this tour,
This
doing
tour,
the shows live.
yeah. And for me, I mean, it's always a dream to have Oprah. I would love to have Oprah. I think that would be, because she's just been like such an icon for both of us. And one time she called into Busy Tonight, and it was an amazing surprise for Busy. It's one of my favorite things that I've ever done in my television career. And I just I'd like you to be able to have a conversation where you knew it was coming.
Yeah, it was insane. I mean,
because you weren't.
I just started crying, and I couldn't really say anything.
I'm just saying, if there's a bit of an opening in that best friend category for you, Busy, I think that something like that might earn it. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, Caissie,
Yeah.
you got to make a campaign here.
Okay.
Center it around that. I think that there might be an opening in the near future if this Michelle Williams interview doesn't happen this week. But guys, thank you guys for showing
Thanks
up.
so much. Thank
And
you.
thank you. And we can't wait to see you guys in Newark. We can't wait to see all of you next time here on 90s Till Now. Thanks, guys.
Thanks
Bye.
for having us.